Yes.
All righty. The time has come. I will open this meeting of the April 1st Granville County Board of Commissioners, of course on a Monday, 7 o'clock. Commissioners, you've noted that we've had a revised agenda this evening. If I could get a motion to acknowledge that, please.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Rob Williford, second by Commissioner Zelotes J. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed, like sign. So of a housekeeping, we're going to be trying out our new visual system tonight, not for the audience, but for our recording systems. So when you're ready to speak, commissioners, if you would please key your mic and get the green light, and I'll acknowledge you, and we'll move forward from there. When you're done speaking, please turn it off. The camera has a zoom function that will allow it to track on the hot mic. So if you'll please, as we move forward with this new technology, it's exciting stuff, and eventually we're going to be live on the old interweb. So, all right. So our first item tonight, aside from working from the revised agenda, which we've adopted, is to have our Pledge of Allegiance and our invocation by Commissioner Rob Williford.
At this time, I'd like to introduce my minister, Pastor Glenn Stallsmith from Oxford United Methodist Church by way of Salem Methodist Church, and he is going to lead the invocation for us tonight.
I invite you to join me in prayer. Almighty God, you have created us to serve you in freedom and in peace. So in our deliberation and discussion tonight, we ask that we might use the liberty that is a gift from you in a way that lines up with your will. Our prayer is that for all of those who labor, everyone who invests in industry and commerce would also be responsive to your will, that through their work, they would find pride in what they do and receive a just return for their labor. We pray that you would make us good stewards of your creation. We remember tonight that one day we will give an account for what is used, what is borrowed. So we pray that you would help us to see your good gifts as just that, your gracious work. Move in and through us that we may know your love more deeply. Amen.
Amen. At this time, please stand and join me in pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor Glenn.
Thank you for that. Commissioners, you have before you the consent agenda. You've had an opportunity to review this. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of the consent agenda.
Second. Got a motion by Commissioner Cozart, seconded by Commissioner Gooch. Are there any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign? Motion carries. Next, we've got our introductions, recognitions, and presentations, and we've got an introduction of our new Economic Development Director.
All right, so I'm inviting, he's already beaten me to the punch, but Mr. Joseph Stallings has gone to the podium. I'm going to offer a few words on his behalf for the edification of the board and the audience, and then invite him to make a few comments and allow board members opportunity to welcome him or ask him any questions they might wish tonight. So it does give me great pleasure tonight to introduce our new Economic Development Director, Mr. Joseph Stallings. As the triangle gets more and more built out, Granville County finds itself on the cusp of truly significant residential growth and also the commercial and industrial growth that will allow us to continue to enjoy the benefits of a diversified tax base and to create additional employment opportunities for our residents. As you know, we have experienced significant turnover in our Economic Development Department in the past year. So we needed somebody in this position fully ready to rebuild the department and to take advantage of the economic development opportunities coming our way. And I believe we have found the man for both moments in Joe Stallings. Mr. Stallings has well over a decade of directly relevant economic development experience in both the public and private sectors. He's familiar with all of the state programs and departments that Granville County interacts with, and from the feedback I have gotten is well known and well liked by movers and shakers in our state's economic development scene. Importantly for Granville County, Mr. Stallings has a good deal of experience working in the urban-rural interface where Granville County currently finds itself, and has handled everything from small Main Street grants to major economic development deals as large or larger than anything we have ever entered into here in Granville County. In addition to earning his bachelor's degree and MPA from App State, Mr. Stallings is a graduate of the Rural Economic Development Institute, but knows the big players as well and is a member of the North Carolina Economic Developers Association, the International Economic Development Council, the Urban Land Institute, and the Southern Economic Development Council. I believe Mr. Stallings is the right man at the right time for Granville County economic development. He's going to be good for this community and an excellent partner for all the towns and cities within our county. We're barely 2 weeks into his employment, and he's already made contact with all of those towns and cities and has met with several of them. Mr. Stallings deserves a warm welcome here, which I hope I've given him, but he's also a young man, and I don't want to butter him up too much. So I'll stop there and invite him to say a few words and then give commissioners, as I said, the opportunity to welcome him and ask him any questions they like. So, Mr. Stallings, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Manager, Chairman, and County Commission. It's a pleasure to be before you here this evening. I look forward to working with you all to help put your vision in place here in the county and work with our municipal partners and economic development partners in our region, the state, and the nation to help bring about the promise of Granville County. I look forward to, like I said, working with you and our management staff here at the county government and everyone that wants to better our county. So please reach out. I'd love to meet with you individually or as a group to hear more about what you would like to see and your vision for the county and how economic development can help bring that about. But thank you so much for the introduction.
Any commissioners have anything specific they'd like to say, or other than the big grand welcome? We've already seen you at meetings and, fluttering about the county, so we're excited.
I just want to say thank you. Thank you for accepting the application to work here in Granville County, and I see wonderful things in your face, so thank you.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here.
Just like to say welcome.
Sir?
A hearty welcome. Hearty welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes. That's great. All right, our next item this evening is public comment. We've got two folks that have signed up for this portion of public speaking. Remember, we've got some public hearings coming up. So the first speaker is going to be Abmore Abdaka from Creedmoor. And that is a fantastic reminder. If you'll please silence your cell phones.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you, commissioners, for allowing me to speak.
Name
I
and
think I have
address.
to be very quick because they told me it's 3 minutes done. So,
And name and
okay,
address, Amor.
I'll make it quick. It's so perfect I come today. By the way, my name is Amor Agdava. I live in 514 Lake Road in Creedmoor, and I've been living in this county for almost 30 years. I work at the hospital in Batna, so I know people around. It's so perfect when I came because you said we have a new economic development, Mr. Stalling, and welcome. I'll be watching, counting for you because that's my topic today, my comment. It's my first time to make a comment in here, but I feel like Granville County is left behind in growth. Now, why will I say that? I've been here almost 30 years. I used to talk to late Commissioner Edgar Smoke, Ronnie Allgood, all of them. I go to church with them back in the days and whatever. So I drive around Wake County, Alamance, Durham. I know they so grow so fast, and sometimes they said growth is not also too much. You have to slow. You have to build more fire department, more schools. I understand that. But even just the growth of Wake or Durham, Alamance or Vance, even just the small percentage, I drive around the county, there's nothing. Now, I might be wrong. You can correct me. I'm wrong with I drive Wake County, we don't even count Wake. Durham, they're big. Alamance, they're big. Even just a small percentage, I don't see it. We have supposed to be the proposed DHSS building. I am aware because I work for the Department of Health and Services. We should be building here on the gap, 250 million building. I don't know, it did not happen. What happened to that building, I don't know. They're building somewhere in Harnett County or somewhere. So I just want to say, Mr. Starling, I just got frustrated and I see all around. I say this because I live in Creedmoor. I'm from the Philippines originally. I will live in Creedmoor and I will die in Creedmoor. And I've seen county commissioner come and go, sheriff come and go, elected official come and go. It looked like Granville County is left behind in our, and we have a good location. We have I-85 corridor. They have a planning partner, economic development partner, the shoppings. I don't see it. So anyway, I might have my 3 minutes, but Commissioner Starling, perfect, I met you. Because in my view, I might be wrong, Granville County is left behind in the area in economic development. I don't see it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abdaka. Our next speaker will be John McAlee. You'll come forward to the podium, state your name and address for the record, please.
Hello, my name's John E. Markley, and I see that your comment time is only 30 minutes, so I'll try to be brief. I mean, that's going to be rough for me. Matter of fact, I see on the agenda that you have some senior citizens issues, and I just want to say the other day I was up working on the front of my property, and they had a senior alert on the phone, and there was some people stopped, and they said, oh, and they tried to lure me into the car with the Reese cup. So. But no, why I'm here this evening, and I'm not sure if this is the time and place, but I just think this is something that's timely for me, a landowner in this area. I purchased 10 acres about 3 years ago, something like that. I've been working on, and we just recently built a home in the last year. And I'd like to talk a little bit about the permit system that we have. And I think there would be a way that, one, we could conduct it in such a way that it would be more efficient for the home and the landowner, because, you know, initially, whenever you apply for a building permit, it's kind of a false sense of security, because you also have about, I think there's like, what, 8 or 10 more permits that you have to have if you have a well, if you have sewer lines, if you have power lines and all these kinds of things. So I just think that whenever somebody applies for a building permit, it should be all-inclusive for all those permits to be included, because you know, I know a lot of young people, they go and get a loan and they go to the bank and the bank pays for whatever you use, and you don't really look at all those numbers. But if you know, you're retired like me and you use real money, you look at every one of those pennies, because once you retire, you don't get any more money in your pension. That's it, unless you get maybe a small raise or something like that. So looking at those small numbers, I think that whenever you apply for a building permit and you are senior citizens, I think you should be able to get a reduction in cost. I think a lot of places have once you turn 65, that you can, you're exempt from paying taxes on your property wherever you live. I think that would be nice down here because it would be an incentive for people to come into the area and retire down here. It's a lovely place to be. Matter of fact, the last 3 days, the blue sky, I mean, it's just beautiful down here. But like I say, if there was a little bit more cost incentive for people to retire here and building permits, that you could get a reduction because, in the long run, you're going to get that back because, I have family and they're going to come down and visit and they're going to see what a nice place it is. And therefore, they're going to want to move into the area and because that's how I ended up here. So, but as far as the permit system itself and dealing with the environmental, you have licensed and insured contractors, and if you dig a ditch, they bring in a piece of equipment, they dig the ditch, they put in a pipe or a line, they load the equipment up, they take it away, and then we have to wait for the inspector to come and inspect. Then once that inspection's completed, they bring the equipment back in, they have to fill the ditch, and so on. Well, every time that piece of equipment goes on that road, that costs you money. I think with digital technology, if you have a licensed and insured contractor, and they could be on some kind of a vendor list with the county, maybe have to attend some kind of a class or something like that, why can't they just take a digital image of it and text it to the county? Or some of the contractors had drones. They went out and took drone footage and things like that because.
Thank you, sir. We have a 3-minute time limit per speaker. That's what the yellow card was when you hit 3, and then when you hit the 4-minute, it's 30 minutes total. We'll let you go a little bit longer. No, sir. You were incredibly. Yes, sir.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Ms.
Sir?
Before you leave the podium, we've got a commissioner that'd like to ask you a quick question.
Sir, we're not supposed to ask questions to any of the comments, but I would like, turned it off again. I would like to know whether you live in the county or any of the towns in. I live in the county. It's not part of one of the towns? STEM. You live in STEM, okay. That's exactly what I needed to know. All right, now we've got a series of public hearings. All right, the purpose of our first public hearing is that Granville County seeks to amend the Granville County Real Property Assessment Manual for 2024, which is a schedule of real property for market and uses values in Granville County as required by General Statute 105-317 by replacing pages 352 through 356. The reason for this replacement of these pages is that the 2018 neighborhood adjustment factors were included in the 2024 property assessment manual in error. The North Carolina General Statute, again 105-317C2B, requires the Board of County Commissioners to hold a public hearing at least 7 days before making this change in order to receive comments from the public. So I think we're going to possibly have our tax administrator, Ginny Short, to come forward. And so again, I made an error on my reading of the page. It was 352 through 360, the page numbers. And I apologize. Trifocals. I try as hard as I can to focal.
Good evening, Chair Karen, members of the board. On October 16, 2023, the proposed real property appraisal manual was presented to the Board of Commissioners, and made available for public inspection on the Tax Administration website, along with a hard copy at the Tax Administration office. On November 6, 2023, a public hearing was held on the proposed real property appraisal manual, which was formally adopted at the November 20th, 2023 Board of Commissioners meeting. In late February 2024, it was discovered that the 2018 neighborhood adjustment factors were erroneously included in the 2024 property assessment manual. The correct 2024 neighborhood adjustment factors were used to calculate assessed value for all assessment notices mailed to property owners. But the printed manual that was approved by the Board of Commissioners included the incorrect 2018 data. The purpose of this public hearing is to consider modifying the previously approved 2024 property assessment manual to replace 2018 neighborhood adjustment factors with the correct 2024 neighborhood adjustment factors on pages 352 through 360. The proposed modified pages have also been made available for public inspection on the Tax Administration website, along with hard copies in the Tax Administration office. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Clerk pointed out that I'm on my third or fourth error of the evening, but we're not keeping track. I did not declare this public hearing open by banging my little hammer, and I apologize for that. And we've heard comments from Ms. Jenny Short will be included in that public hearing for the opening remarks. Now that you've finished, if anyone would like to come forward, we've got 4 people signed up. We'll call through these, and then we'll open the audience up. So Ms. Grigorovich, I see is your first person up. If you'll please come forward to the podium and state your name and address for the hearing. J.C. Grigorovich. I'm sorry. If I mispronounce your name.
Hi, J.C. Georgiev, 1174 Smith Creek. So there's quite a few residents in my neighborhood that are concerned, and so I'm coming up just to bring you a Standard 6 mass appraisal reporting, and I've highlighted some points. I just want to make sure that these are being covered, because when you look at the explanation of the multiplier, it almost seems to me like the appraisal company is trying to back themselves into numbers. And one of the questions I would have is, why is land valued in one neighborhood differently than another neighborhood when it should be based off of structure, not just land? Land is usually compared with like topography and that kind of thing versus what a developer is willing to pay for in a newer neighborhood versus a more mature neighborhood. So one of the main points on this Standard 6 that I would just want you guys to please consider that they're doing is, in case of mass appraisal for ad valorem taxation stability and accuracy are important and credible of value opinions, including the mathematical form of the final models, not just calling it something, but actually coming up with the mathematical form. And then when the opinion of highest and best on appropriate market or market levels was developed, summarize how that opinion was determined and reference case law, statute, public policy describes highest and best use requirements. One of the things I'm noticing is if an appraiser writes like a developer purchases land per lot, they have a financial gain in that. It shouldn't be necessarily used at that exact price for a tax valorem. So that's my understanding of it, but I just wanted to share this with you so that you guys can look through this as well. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next, we'll have Ms. Sandra Bishop.
Good evening, Sandra Bishop, 1535 Trailwood Drive, Creedmoor, North Carolina. First, I'd like to discuss the neighborhood multiplier, because that is an increase on the structure value on top of the increased square footage, other features, and land rates to the homeowners or the landowners. There are 346 neighborhoods in Granville County. We have marginal, good, average, excellent, named, as well as commercial. Of the 346 neighborhoods, 43 received an increase. 9 received a reduction. 9 of the reductions of 8 to 30% in that neighborhood multiplier are for homes that exceed $600 to $1.3 million in the Silverleaf neighborhood. How can the average 43 of the neighborhoods, right, increase 4 to 60%? 18 of those are average neighborhoods, not including the named subdivisions. 45% of the neighborhoods saw an increase. Regarding the Granville County Real Property Manual, I was originally told that there was a coding error related to those, and as Jenny stated, you guys have decided to revise the manual to go with the data that was in the software. There are technically 3 dates in that manual as of today. The Schedule of Values Depreciation Schedule Detail Report, pages 205 to 233, have a date of September 12th, 2023, 9:53 a.m. There is page 238 to 331, the cost schedule of values. I want to bring it to your attention. The dates of those are August 28th of 2017. It appears that there is another error within that manual. Page 312 is a different format with no date. The neighborhood schedule of values have no page numbers in the PDF. However, the date is March 5th, 2024. So we have a range of 3 to 4 dates in this manual. How are we to have confidence in the data and the appraisal company with what's going on? Regarding the PRC errors, there's a lack of confidence because of the manual and the property record cards. An audit should be performed to correct the property record card errors. It is an extreme injustice to our senior citizens, the disabled, the people of color, and those with diminished capacity to have to file a formal appeal to correct the errors on their property record cards. This should be done by the county, from the auditors themselves, not from the citizen standpoint. Most citizens I've spoken to do not know how to obtain their property record card, nor do they know how to interpret it. Given the ongoing errors in the manual, the best we would have is the manual, which is full of errors. A revenue neutral rate should be adopted because homeowners, landowners, are being assessed increases based on square footage, building sites, structures, other features, such as a grade, such as B+5, B+10, or A, B, C, D plus or negative -5 to 10. And those are arbitrary rates that are based on adjusted market conditions. What are those market conditions? That information is not in the manual. The neighborhood increases of 4 to 60%, yet the neighborhoods seem to be inconsistent. Example, there is a neighborhood on Pope Road, which is just 5 homes. There's no neighborhood sign, but yet it's a subdivision on the GIS map. There is also a color code for a GIS subdivision on Pope Road that is no name. My neighbor was assessed $500 per square foot for a porch that is attached to a single wide mobile home. Yet the deck was valued at $0. Building sites are not assessed properly. My daughter has a new build home that was completed last year, 2023. Her residence is 2,373 heated square feet. Her assessed value was on 3,867 heated square feet. The total square footage of her residence is 3,868 square feet, yet she was assessed for 4,922 square feet. There is no excuse when a final inspection was completed by Granville County last year. The information I obtained from the tax department is that the information from planning and zoning is not passed along to the tax office for accurate assessments. The Comper tool, there's an issue with the Comper tool. When you look at my 27-year-old home, modular, there is only one comp within a 10-mile radius. The residence for that comp has road frontage, a horse barn, a garage, etc. Mine is 3/4 of a way down a dirt driveway. Given the Falls Lake watershed rules, anything over 2 to 4 miles would not be a like-kind comparison. The same property is generated as a comp for a B-10 rated structure, and mine is a C. So the only similarity of each of these is that they are both in the southeast average neighborhood. Another friend has a mobile home in a named neighborhood. There is only one comp for his residence. According to the North Carolina Department of Revenue, the market value, and this is their appeals site, both parties must be well informed regarding the actual and potential uses of the property. One sale, remember that Comper tool is only coming up with one for each of these. One sale does not necessarily set the market value. Market value is best determined when several arm's length sales of comparable properties support a similar value. Market value and market price are identical only under the following assumptions. There are 4, but I won't read them all. The primary one is well-informed buyers and sellers acting in their own best interests, i.e. Falls Lake watershed rules. In many cases, the market price paid for property is not the market value, and this is from the North Carolina Department of Revenue's appeal manual. Regarding the Falls Lake watershed rules, because I am under those, it says that no development or redevelopment shall occur except in compliance with the provisions of the ordinance unless exempted. This includes replacing or building decks, porches, structures attached to the property, requires a stormwater runoff plan when modifying the topography of a parcel, filing of a request to the county for approval, adding content to the soil, etc., in an effort to protect Falls Lake. If a septic system is removed and the land does not perk, the property owner will pay. Example, on my driveway, the neighbor pulled up a septic system and she now has to pay, well, when she built the house, a $40,000 IRSIS septic system. And that requires yearly inspections by a licensed company at a rate of $1,200 per year. There is no way around it. It never goes away. The rules are set forth by the North Carolina DEQ. A neighbor was told the setback for her modular home on our driveway. As a result, because you're not allowed to destroy more than half an acre in the Falls Lake watershed, she was assessed a $10,000 fine for cutting down more than a half an acre of trees and removing stumps. As well, you have the SWASA water issue with contaminants, and the Granville County has one of the highest cancer rates in the state. A letter dated on March 29, 2017 from Elena Arias of the Department of Health and Human Services to a resident stated information and reports from the North Carolina Central Cancer Registry indicate that the occurrence of several types of cancers in Granville County and the town of Butner area of Granville County has elevated for many years when compared to the rest of the state of North Carolina. Only thing I can say is a well-informed buyer would not pay the market prices nor the tax values that have been assessed to us. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments this evening. Our next speaker will be Katie Selgreen. Their button. Thank you.
Katie Selgren, 1098 Lake Ridge Drive. I actually just wanted to bring to your attention an article out of UNC School of Government, and it's a study of equity in NC property tax appraisals. I see Drew nodding. You must be familiar with it. But some things that I wanted to point out was that data from 2022, 81 of 100 North Carolina counties were considered regressive, meaning that they failed to meet basic vertical equity standards for the county-wide data sample. So what this really means is that in 4 out of 5 counties statewide, higher value properties were underassessed, while lower valued properties are overassessed beyond the acceptable range of error. The acceptable range of error is 5 to 15%. This functionality leads to a higher property tax burden for low-income homeowners and communities throughout the state. It is a statewide problem. the biggest problem for me is that we are seeing it here. So an example, my property value, my structure value doubled. And then I have a 1.5 neighborhood multiplier on top of that. So my structure value doubled, and then you assessed me an additional 50% on that. And so I feel that these neighborhood adjustment factors that we are looking at, particularly for our smaller neighborhoods, our smaller homes, are not fair, and that they are contributing to this phenomenon that we're seeing. And this paper goes on to say that it's not just a phenomenon from 2022. From 2019 to 2022, an average of 72 counties failed basic vertical equity standards, and all of these were regressive. In fact, not one single county was considered progressive in any of the years, meaning that not a single county systematically overassessed high-value properties outside of the standard range. So it is a systematic overvaluation of lower-income homes. And I think that the neighborhood values that have been put forth exacerbate this issue, and I would encourage you not to adopt them.
Thank you. All right. Ms. Alice Meese.
Hi, excuse me, Alice Meese, 1103 Lake Ridge Drive, Falls Meadows subdivision. I'm up here tonight too, just to voice my concern. My house went from being like 158,000 up to 333,000 is my assessment, 200 and something dollars. I have the 1.5 multiplier, and I'm not sure why there's not gold under my house. We do have a drug trailer down on Bruce Gardner. Maybe we can get a little coke, a little meth. I'm not really sure. Some people might consider that a benefit. We also are having the development by Bruce Spruce, and that's the one where a lot of people did sell in 2022 because we're all wondering, we're in the experimental area where community wells, large 1,000 foot deep drawing, 60 gallons a minute, 30 gallons a minute. And then we have our little individual private wells. So a lot of people in my community of Falls Meadows were worried that we're going to run out of water. And there is no well interference ordinance. So a lot of people said, what the hell? And they left. Now, back in 2022, which they took a lot of values from that, the interest rates were 2.96, 3%. Now they're 7%. There's an inverse relationship. So when the rates are down, yeah, and everybody was looking for houses in 2022. There was a shortage. It was a phenomenon that hasn't been before or after. So we had a lot of homes sold. So somehow it looks like they decided just to back into these figures because it's nothing based on logic. There is a subdivision that was built by Wynn Construction. It's down the road, farther down on 96. It's called Ashton Glen. Same houses, exact same styles in there. Of course, in Ashton Glen, a lot of them have nice brick fronts. Very few of ours do. But these homes didn't have the 1.5 multiplier. Why not? So same builder, same design, same models, same square footage, tens of thousands of dollars less than mine. I'm not going to, this is not going to fly. So I'm not sure if Pearson appraisal is the problem. I noticed that in some subdivisions, because it's an individual thing for my appeal, I'm not going to belabor it here, but some subdivisions, they, had an acre price, and if you had less than an acre, you got a less price. And in some place, just like my subdivision, everyone was $50,000 for the lot. So I don't know what the difference is. Some of you, I could look up all of yours. I have on some. Some of yours is prorated based on acre. And why are some subdivisions based on just an acre price and everybody gets the same price, and some are prorated? So there's so many discrepancies with this. I think you really, really need to take a harder look. So I thank you very much. We will be in touch.
Thank you.
All right, we've gone through the people and have signed up to speak during this public comment session on the neighborhood adjustment factors. If there's anyone else in the audience who would like to come forward and share your thoughts, I'd love to have them. Okay, seeing none. Does any of the board have any questions?
Mr. Chairman, is anyone from Pearson Appraisal Service here tonight? I really would, personally, would just like to hear if there is any response from the concerns that have been raised.
Most of the increase in value came about in the lower end properties. Higher end properties did not inflate as fast as the lower end. It had to do a lot with the price point. People could afford $300,000. You get above $600,000, $700,000, you limit your market. And those properties were not selling as much. There was not as much inventory shortage to drive the price up on those as it did on the lower end.
Mr. Crow? Mr. Crow?
Yes.
Could you introduce yourself and
sorry.
remind the commissioners what your background in tax appraisal is?
Yes, my name is Emmett Curl. I've been in the business since I left Appalachian State in 1972. I was with Wake County for 35 years as the administrator in that county. I retired, figured out real quick that I enjoyed work more than I thought I did. So I went back and have been doing this now for about 17, 18 years, private contracting. And I have never seen in my career inflation rates occur in the last 4 years that have occurred across the state, not just here. Some places have gone up over double. And it's all in the lower end categories in those jurisdictions as well as this one. And the neighborhood factor represents that in the lower end. I think one of that went up the most, pretty much every home in that particular neighborhood was 1,350 square feet. 5 years ago, you could have bought that home for $150,000. Now they're over $350,000, $400,000. So that's where the increase has come about, is in the lower end properties. Question?
I've got a few questions, if you don't mind, sir. Please explain exactly what is the neighborhood factor to the public?
The routines are built so you value every home in the county off of what we call a base rate. And in the case, I don't remember that exact number, but it was somewhere around $125, $130 a square foot. And that values everything from 10 million to 50,000. Then once you leave that, get that so that your new construction is appraised correctly, then you go into neighborhoods. And if you have a neighborhood that has small homes, and throughout that neighborhood, they're the ones that went up the most. They were selling in the neighborhood of $200 a square foot, $225. It varied. So those factors were put in place. Neighborhoods were identified as to be as homogeneous and generic as they could be. And then when sales occurred that caused those neighborhoods to be selling more per square foot than others, those factors were used.
Is that still ongoing?
Yes, it's in all 100 counties in the state, to my knowledge.
And so, may I? Without mentioning the citizen's name, because I'm just want to refresh you to something. One of our citizens tonight had described in which 3 different page numbers of what they believe to be inaccurate information. And so, can you?
That's pretty much stuff that was printed out of the system
If the schedules didn't change from prior, we left them alone. What's in the system is what valued the county. The paper copy, if it's inaccurate, the system overrides what the paper says.
But I guess my question is, when they review the manual and it's for public display, are they reviewing a manual that accurately reflects what will result
Yes.
in the evaluation?
Yes, when applied, and with the system, it generates a very accurate value overall.
So, go ahead.
Those pages that were referenced, they are for those other features, which are like storage sheds. They're not attached to the home. It's like garage lean-tos. Those values didn't change.
I guess my point is that I think as an elected body here, we want to make sure that these questions tonight are answered in full.
Right.
And that there should be no ambiguity in regards to what we're come to a conclusion is when we actually get to the point when we are setting a rate and at the end of the day, that will be what citizens will pay. Are you confident based on the data that's programmed or printed that will occur?
Yes, sir. I believe once we get through and the state does a sales ratio study, you're going to have some very confident numbers, and I believe your regressivity and progressivity will be very much in line around. It usually runs from 1.3 to 97. And I believe yours will come in at 1, which means it's neutral. That's a statistician term. I know that doesn't mean anything to anybody, but those numbers will come in good.
So we also heard from a citizen regarding the school of government study and the aggressiveness, and I'd like for you to address that, but as well, I think every board member would agree with what I'm about to say. You know, we don't want someone to have a tax card with inaccurate information, and then a citizen actually end up paying taxes that is not what they should be paying.
Right.
They should reflect accurately the information.
And we absolutely agree
And
with
I know
that.
there's an appeal process. Are we doing everything we can to reach out to make sure that those folks that maybe aren't going to go to the detail that our informed citizens go to,
Right.
to make sure that the right thing's occurring?
Yes, we will do. We've taken every measure we can. Square footage is the most difficult thing to, and it's the largest indicator toward value is the heated square foot of a house. And that is the most difficult thing to get accurate information on, especially if it's a multi-level house or partially finished house, cathedral ceilings, all of that. It was mentioned earlier, I'm of the opinion that plans in this day and time that are presented to the inspection department should be made available electronically to every tax office in the state. That would improve that accuracy tenfold. I know in Wake County, there's nothing built there that's not multi-level and cathedral. And they have the most difficult time getting the square footage correct, even there with the expertise that they have and what they do. And I think that can be solved. That's a personal thing of mine, that it can be solved by getting access to those plans.
Mr. Curl,
Yes.
going back to the neighborhood multiplier, so some of the factors that determine that, would that be the type of wells, community wells, paved
That would,
roads?
absolutely. The
So if
sales represent all that.
Okay, so when you determine your multiplier, you're including paved road, curb and gutter, state maintained?
Absolutely.
Private road versus a state maintained?
Absolutely.
The size of the lots?
when you look at the sales that are occurring in that neighborhood, those sales impact every one of those components that you named. So if you use the sales and you have accurate data on that card, then yes, it will predict a very good value within a range of roughly 5 to 15%.
And that will determine your multiplier.
Yes.
Is that a correct
Yes, sir.
statement? Okay.
If you took that multiplier away, you would have extremely erratic sales ratio.
Example, we've got a neighborhood, let's say you have a neighborhood that has $100,000 home in at this part. At the end, you got somebody that's got $1 million home. How does that?
Hopefully that $1 million home would not be part of that neighborhood.
Well, it happens though. I mean,
Yeah, sure.
it happens.
If it happens, then we'll fix it.
I mean, you do have that occur.
Oh, absolutely it'll happen. I've seen it every day.
Okay, all right. But that does skew that
It can, yes.
multiplier.
And that's why we want to, not necessarily would it skew that multiplier, because the multiplier is going to be based on the sales that occurred in the
Okay,
neighborhood.
so it's all based on the sales.
All based on sales, nothing else. No
Okay.
opinion in that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other members of the board have any questions?
I just got one more, if it's okay, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Sir? So how do you answer the question on equity regarding the School of Government study and so
Yes,
forth?
that's an interesting study that was helped put, SAS Institute helped put that together. They are working with Wake to develop an AI tool that they're trying to market across the United States. And that tool would help predict values for property tax purposes. It's not cheap. It's very expensive. Wake spends $1 million a year maintaining that AI tool to generate.
But the way that we're evaluating property now, is it addressing any
Yes.
equity issues?
Every time we do one, we address that. That's a main thing to get correct. We look at the low-end sales and the high-end sales. And unfortunately, the low end is what got hit the hardest, and the high end, but equity is still there. We still have a ratio of the high end versus the low end that's equitable when we get through.
Just bear with me. Just want to make sure I phrase this correctly. Are you confident in the work that was done
Yes.
and that you will see that these questions are answered appropriately?
Yes, sir, we will.
And that possibly that Mr. Chair maybe address in a way that these citizens will have a response. I just want to make sure that there shouldn't be any doubt in anyone's mind that what we're doing is a competent process. And if there is, then I would like for the county attorney, county manager, and all to make sure that we're on top of it. Yes, sir.
I would just point out that with over 34,000 parcels in Granville County, there are a lot of individual circumstances and details of properties that are hard to address, except by either calling the tax office or going down there and paying them a visit. Since the new statements were sent out, many hundreds of people have either dropped by to ask questions or called or filed an assessor's appeal, which they can do up through April 29th. And so I would just encourage people to do one of those things. We have people from Pearson's Appraisal, often Mr. Curl there every day, as well as our own tax staff. And my impression is that they've been doing a very good job answering people's questions when they come in or call down.
That's correct. And any information that's incorrect, we'd like for someone to point it out to us. We take every effort, but it's very difficult to tease out if you don't have something to tease it with.
I'm sorry, I did not get the date that the appeals were, that you could appeal until.
So I believe that informal or assessor's appeals can be filed through April 29th, and formal appeals can be filed through June 3rd, which is the first meeting of this board acting as the Board of Equalization and Review. So still a decent amount of time. That's our last meeting. Okay. So that's a decent amount of time to get either a formal or informal appeal filed.
And Mr. Manager, last meeting, we had it so that once we got done with this subject, they were able to go into the other room and discuss this with them actually and talk with them. And most of them came back at least not cringing as badly.
We have another session. We haven't set that kind of session up for tonight, but we have another before our next meeting on April 15th. We have a public information session about the same topic from 5:30 to 6:30, after which representatives from Pearson and our tax office will be available in the meeting room up there on the other side of the lobby.
Thank you.
Sir, one last question, Mr. Chair. I apologize, I said one last question more than once. Since 2022, have neighborhood, and that's in the smaller size homes, has that gone up? Has value gone up since 2022?
There has been some, yes. Not at the rate that we've seen in the previous. I think 22 was the highest inflated in that cycle. 23 has inflation, but not nearly what is in place in 22.
And is there any reduction? I mean, is there a percentage of reduction since for that size home to have gone down to where citizen? So we had an example of a citizen telling us that their home was valued at somewhere around 300. I'm just remembering,
Right.
$330-some thousand, and that was originally $158,000 home, and that since 2022 that it's kind of plateaued. If I, or at least
Yes, it's not quite completely flat, but there's been a little bit because of inventory shortage, and it's still, there's a little competition still going on to get those homes.
So it's still going up, but at
Nowhere at the same
and not
rate.
at the rate.
No, it's not doing that, thank goodness.
Okay.
I like it when it's more like this, personally.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. So I will now declare this public hearing closed. Does the board need any further clarification? Okay. The tax administrator has recommended the board issue an order amending the property assessment manual as set out above in the notice, which will be published as required by law. What is the pleasure of the board?
The purpose of this hearing was to replace pages 352 through 360. That's the purpose here. And I make a motion that we replace those pages 352 through 360.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gooch, seconded by Commissioner Hinman. All those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Motion carries. We have a second public hearing. All right. The purpose of this item is to hold a public hearing, and then consider a preliminary resolution in support of the planned financing of the North Granville Senior Center. I will now declare this public hearing open. At this time, I would like to recognize Ted Cole, Senior Vice President of Davenport, for a brief overview. Good evening.
Good evening. I have a presentation, a brief presentation. If you'd like to hear that before the public hearing, you could certainly do it following the public hearing. If you prefer, there is a resolution for you all to consider following the public hearing as well. Would you like to go through that now?
You can roll right with everything.
Okay,
Yep.
great. Steve McNally is here as well. If you have any questions from finance, and your bond attorney, Bob Jessup, is here as well. we have a brief memo. I believe it's in your agenda packet, page 37. This is an overview of a financing process that we worked with staff, closely with staff on for the North Granville Senior Center. And most all of you have sat through some capital planning workshops that we've done, and we presented at the board retreat looking at multiple projects, long-term capital planning, and this particular project, North Granville Senior Center, was sort of first on the list. And I believe there's something on your agenda later this evening about the project bids and some alternates and whatnot. So this is specific to the financing. Through the process, we put together a request for proposal. We sent it out to a number of banks, and we're requesting funding in an amount up to $3 million in a term up to 20 years to finance a portion of this project. We received proposals from 4 banks: Capital One Public Funding, TD Public Funding, Truist Commercial, and Webster Bank. And while maybe not all of these are household names to you all, they may not have a location in the county, they are very active in bidding on local government debt, and we work with all of them on a regular basis. So feel good about the proposals we received. I'm going into page 2 of my memo. If you're following along, I'm guessing that's page 38 of your agenda, I believe. And what you'll see on this page is a table that talks about the interest rates that these banks provided. And we did ask for both 15-year terms and 20-year terms, matching the expected useful life of the facility. In fact, the expectation would be the facility would be in use longer than 15 or 20 years. But with the Local Government Commission in Raleigh, who has to approve this debt, they would normally expect you to limit the term of this debt to 20 years. Under the 15-year option, TD Bank provided the lowest interest rates. You'll notice that they're in red. They're a 4.29 and a 4.43. They're in red because they are not fixed rates at this point. They are rate indications that they provided us to consider, but the rate with them cannot be locked in until we proactively, or until the county proactively acknowledges that they want to move forward with TD Bank. We establish the loan amount and the closing date, at which point the rate could lock. So it would be floating for some period of time. Capital One, Webster, and Truist all provided 15-year options. You can see that range of interest rates. Capital One, Webster, and Truist, their rates are locked. If you wanted to move forward with them, you could at those stated rates. Under the 20-year option, Capital One, Webster, and Truist all provided rates. They are fixed for the entire term. They can be locked in at any time. The rate is good, I should say. It's not floating, as long as we close by May 21st. And you're going to see our recommendation here in a moment. We're recommending, having talked through this with staff and council, Capital One for 20 years at a 4.67% rate there at the middle of the table on page 2. But we did do some comparisons so that you can see the difference between a 15-year loan and a 20-year loan, including TD and Webster Bank. Page 3, another consideration in the loan approval process will be, what are the prepayment terms and conditions? In other words, we enter into a loan, it's for 15 or 20-year term, the rate is fixed, but at what point do we have the ability to prepay it or refund it if there's an opportunity to do that? TD Bank gave a couple of options. One is something called a make whole. It allows you to prepay it, but it eliminates the ability to take advantage of lower interest rates. You end up paying a penalty that takes away the economic incentive of the prepayment. And our recommendation would be to avoid that type of prepayment language. On their option 2, they allow for prepayment after 2027. And again, that's a 15-year rate for them. Capital One for the 20-year, that is our recommended proposal. We can prepay the loan basically 10 years out at 2034 and beyond at what we call par, no penalty. You prepay it at the principal amount outstanding and any accrued interest. So for the first 10 years, it's set, it's not changing. After 10 years, you have the ability to prepay it if there's an opportunity or a desire, particularly if there's an opportunity to lower the rate and produce debt service savings. With Webster Bank's 20-year, they do allow for a little bit of an earlier prepayment, but they have some penalties associated with doing that. And they get to a place in 2033 where it could be prepaid without penalty. So between Capital One's 20 and Webster's 20, Webster allows for prepayment a bit earlier, a few years earlier, but with a penalty, and they're within 1 year of one another to be prepaid without a penalty. And our expectation would be there's likely to be an opportunity to refund this in the future for savings. We don't know when that will happen. We're sort of in a higher interest rate environment today. There's some expectation that rates will come down. Again, we don't know when or how quickly, but for a 20-year loan, it would be pretty normal that at some point over that 20-year period, the opportunity to refinance a debt for savings would present itself, much like it might for a long-term mortgage. So we've compared all of these and put them side by side on page 4. The columns B and C are the 15-year terms. You can see those payments start at about $300,000 a year and decline to about $200,000 a year. And then columns D and E are the 20-year terms, right? So it's an extra 5 years, a little bit of a higher interest rate, but it is consistent with the longer-term capital planning that we went through with all of you. Remember, this is the first of several projects that will be considered for funding. And while, generally speaking, you might want to pay off debt more quickly rather than extend it by 5 or so years, taking into context all the other things that you all might have to address going forward. In our planning work, we've assumed the 20-year term. And you can see for both Capital One and Webster, we are really very close to what the planning assumptions were for this loan. The payments start at about $266,000 a year, and they decline to about $150,000. And both Capital and Webster are very close to one another. Their interest rate was very close to one another. But at the end of the day, as we sorted it out and went through all of the options with staff, when you get to page 5, we are making the recommendation to move forward with Capital One at the rate of $467. It's a 20-year term. You can prepay it without penalty after 10 years. We would need to close by May 21, and you'll see in our calendar, we don't have any expectation that that would be problematic. The loan would close, you would get the funds, you would invest those funds, and you would spend the money on the project as invoices come due. So it would be a very straightforward financing in that regard. The loan would be secured by the senior center, sort of like a mortgage or a deed of trust on the senior center. That type of debt we call an installment financing. They're done on a regular basis in North Carolina. You all have done them before. They do require a public hearing, which you're considering doing this evening. Once you close that public hearing, there is a resolution for you all to consider. If you were to move forward with that resolution, that would be the first of 2 actions. The second action would come on April 15th at your board meeting. On April 15th, that would be the second and final local approval, what we call a final resolution. And then it would go to the Local Government Commission on May 7th. We have submitted an application. That's a non-binding application, but it's been submitted. And if this evening you approve, April 15th you approve, the LGC approves on May 7th, that would be all the necessary approvals, and we would be able to close by the deadline of May 21st. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. Stick around, and after the public hearing, if there's questions specifically on the resolution that you'll consider, also happy to answer questions.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. While you're still at the podium, Mr. Wilford, you have a question?
We will receive 100% of the funds once we select, and then deposit them and then pay invoices as we need them.
Yes, sir. And while you receive them on the day of closing, and you will have an account set up where you'll earn interest on that money while you're spending it on project costs.
I believe there was also a extra charge that TD was going to, I didn't see it, but I did sit in with the Zoom, and there was an additional $12,000 fee that's not listed that TD was charging us, that the other two were not.
That's correct. TD Bank did have an origination fee or a fee for their counsel, and we've included it in our comparison, but
it wasn't broken out.
It was not. Capital One and Webster did not have a similar fee.
Okay.
Anyone else? All right. Okay. Now we'll have members of the public, and we've got a list of folks, and after we get through this list, we will come back to anyone here in the audience that would wish to speak at this time. So our first speaker that signed up will be Jean, and excuse me for butchering your last name, but Levinson? Lawson? Levinson? And you'll repeat it for us when you get to the podium and state your name and address.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good evening, everyone. I'm Jean Lawson, a citizen of Stovall, North Carolina, which is located in North Granville County. I attend the Northern Granville Senior Center daily, and I volunteer for many duties whenever the need exists. I am used to being actively involved in the community, and therefore the Senior Citizen Center has been a haven for me since my retirement. It's something that I am able to do every day, which nothing else offers me that opportunity in Stovall. That's basically what we have, the center and a library. And I go from one to the other. I have been excited about the possibility of having more space and an updated senior facility that has been promised for many years. Yeah. Last year, I read an article in the Oxford Ledger stating that money had been allocated for the building of a center in Stovall. I witnessed the zoning of the land, the demolition of the existing buildings on the land. I attended the groundbreaking ceremony, and I saw the architect's design. So it was announced that the construction of this proposed center would begin in 2023. This is 2024. I am completely baffled as to why this discussion has to take place in the first place. Thank you for the opportunity to express my feelings. There have been so many conflicting information printed in the Oxford Ledger until we are all confused. Please let me remind you, the citizens of Northern Granville County are taxpayers. Yes, we are. It would be appreciated if we had restrooms that we could go to and everybody wouldn't know what we're doing in there. It would be appreciated if there was an office that our manager could go in and discuss personal and private information without everybody knowing what she's saying or he's saying. More space would generate more people. More than one activity can be occurring at the same time. As it is now, it's open to the public. Everything. It's a beautiful place. We love everybody. but we don't have any privacy. The elderly in North Granville County deserve the same as the elderly in Central Granville and Southern Granville. The elderly in North Granville have spent their lives maintaining the financial stability of the county, also deserves some of it in return. Please be reminded, we are also taxpayers. Thank you.
All righty, our next speaker will be John Owens.
I'm John Owens, live at 8563 Conway Elliott Road, and I'm not the outgoing speaker that our previous lady was. Nevertheless, first of all, I want to thank the commissioners who, through a period of years, have made an outstanding senior center program in Granville County. That's been going on for at least 30 years or more. About 10 years ago, I guess it was, I was the county representative to the Senior Tar Heel Legislature, which meets in Raleigh to try to advance causes for senior citizens in the state. It didn't take me long as I talked to other people from all over the state, both formally and informally, to find out that Granville County has one of the most outstanding senior center programs in the whole state. I attribute that to two things, have through the years. One is the support of the county commissioners. The other is the staff of Kathy May and her group who operate the center. We've got a lot to be proud of here in Granville County, and I thank you for that. Now, for the North Granville Center, I'm a resident of that area, and my main connection with the center through the years has been the fact that for several years, we delivered Meals on Wheels through that center to people in our community who could not get out of their homes to go to the center for their meals there. Fortunately, my wife and I have been able to travel to the senior center in Oxford up until now to take part in the activities there. But next month, I'm going to turn 80 years old, and I doubt that we're going to be able to continue that trip a whole lot longer. So to me, it's personally important that the citizens of northern Granville County have the same opportunity as all of the citizens who live in the central part of this county and the southern part of the county. When I'm in and out of the senior center, I see fine people there. I see people who have lived good lives. I see people who love each other, who enjoy the companionship and the stimulation and the fellowship of being together for the various programs there. We need more space. We need a better building. We need more programs, which we would be able to have if we have a new space, a new facility. So I support and urge you to support in every way that you can the new building program at the Senior Center in Stovall. Thank you.
Next up, we'll have Margaret Hart.
I'm Margaret Hart. I live at 9568 Grassy Creek Road, Bullock, North Carolina. My husband and I have been going to the center for about a year. A couple invited us to go, and when we went, we met a lot of really nice people there. and that we wouldn't have met otherwise. And I'm glad we decided to go. The center offers a lot of different things to do for the seniors. We have games and bingo and parties and all kind of different activities that otherwise we'd be sitting at home doing nothing. My husband started a Bible study there. He goes twice a month, and some of us get up to sing before he has the Bible study. And we also enjoy wonderful meals there. They also have people in the community that can't come, and the meals are took to the shut-ins there. With the groups getting larger, the room seems like it's getting smaller. And Phyllis Blackwell does a wonderful job along with Tammy. Every senior to her is special, and no one is treated different than any other. We have had two or three people to come and show us a picture of what the senior center will look like. The land has been purchased, and people are always talking about the northern part of Granville County needing more things done. But when we seem to be making progress, it seems that it goes to another part of the county. We would appreciate all the help that we can get from you and the support for the center in northern Granville County. Thank you.
Next, we've got Jeff Stovall.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jeff Stovall. I live at 209 Lewis Street, Stovall, North Carolina. I'm also a town commissioner for the town of Stovall. I want to thank you for your work for the county. Oftentimes, it's a tireless job and you don't get thanked enough, and so I want to thank you for everything you've done. We, from a town's perspective, are 100% supportive of this senior center. I just want to update you. Last week, we held our own public hearing whereby we rezoned the property for its intended use, so to pave the way for it to be used in its intended purpose. And we will do everything we can to ensure that its use and growth and prosperity will continue. There's a positive buzz in the community regarding the senior center, and I brought a lot of friends with me here. If you're in support of it, please raise your hand. We have all these seniors come out to show you that this is a good investment in not only the northern end of the county, but our town. It is not just another amenity for us, it is the amenity, and it is going to be the hub for not only the seniors, but a younger generation such as myself to interact with these folks. Because we don't have anything to do either. I go to the senior center when I see the parking lot full, and I have a good time. And I'm telling you, you are making the right decision. I hope this is an easy decision for you because the investment will pay back tenfold, I promise you. So thank you for everything. Continue to do the good work and have a great evening. Thank you very much.
Next, we've got Don Fick.
Good evening. My name is Don Fick. I live at 107 West Quail Ridge Road in Oxford. And in full disclosure, I am a candidate to join this board standing for election in November for District 3. So I realize District 3 is pretty far away from the Stovall Senior Center, but knowing that this was going to be an important issue tonight, I did take the opportunity to go up and visit the Senior Center this past week and was disappointed by the quality of the facilities. It is fair to say it is functionally obsolete, which sounds like a very technical way to say that it is woefully inadequate for what we're asking it to do. And so building this new senior center is absolutely the right choice. The question in front of us is this good financing? And I think at below 5% interest, if anybody has shopped for a mortgage in recent years, you'll think 5% is a pretty good deal. And the opportunity to refinance it after 10 years, gives us a little bit of a hedge in case interest rates come down, as we all hope they do. So I'd like to, share my support for this, even though, as I said, it's well beyond District 3. I think we all here are united by a common interest in what is best for Granville County as a whole. And this is certainly going to be one of those things that we do now, and for decades we'll reap the benefits. Thank you.
Next up, signed up, we have Miss Annette Myers.
My name is Annette Myers. I'm at 6587 Albus Brooks Road. I just simply want to say that no one can, June said it all, so we can go home with that. But I would like to ask those who are here in support to stand. Thank you. I simply wanted to make a few points to you. Northern Granville County is agrarian, from Person County to the Vance County line along the Virginia line, and we understand that. It is populated by people who live on family farms that have been in their family for generations, both African American and white. It has been tradition in our community that we call on our neighbors first for help before we actually call on county services. And so we are not a tremendous drain on the finances of the county, but on occasion, we really need your attention. The people who live in our area, many of them are not the greatest generation, but they're the children of the greatest generation. And they were taught and raised with the ethics of that generation to take care of their own and to be an advantage or a benefit to their neighborhood and their county as opposed to being a drain on it. If you do the study and look at the facts, the senior population is growing all over the country, also in Granville County, and some of you sitting on this board are a member of that generation. If you do the reading and studying, you know that the way to engage and to continue to be active, both emotionally, mentally, and physically, is to engage with other people, to be in social settings, and to be a part of the community. A new center there would give us that advantage. It is small. They do a lot of things there. But it's true, you can't have different individual meetings and groups because it's one big room. So if you go there, you become friends with everyone or you go home. We thank you for moving forward on this effort. And I think that former Commissioner Chair Tony Corzart said it well in 2022. He said, the existing site has served its purpose, but the time has come for Granville County to expand services in Stovall to match what can be found at the Granville County Senior Center in Oxford and South Granville Senior Center in Creedmoor. We made it a critical part of our county strategic plan to improve and bring more services to all parts of Granville County. We thank you. We thank you for your attention to this, and although that same article said it would be started in 2023, we'll take 2024. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Leroy Anderson.
This is about the size of a Bible, but I swear to you, I will not take a text. Commissioners, this is the second time I've appeared to you behind this desk. The first time was to give you an accolade because you were working very, very hard. I stand before you now. I don't know on page 37 if you are aware of it. That edifice was built in 1940. I was born in 1950. It was initially built as a classroom. some 28 years ago, it was renovated. I pray to you, do what's right, do what's good, and be blessed.
Having all of those who have signed up to speak this evening, is there anyone in the audience that did not sign up but wishes to speak on this matter? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Hello, I'm Tiana Rorsher. I reside at 209 Gillis Street in God's Country in Stovall, North Carolina for the last 18 years. However, I've been a resident of Northern Granville County for 48 years. And just so you know that it's not just our lovely senior population that wants this building, our younger population wants it as well. We stand on the backs of those that came before us, and they deserve way more than what they have right now. My grandmother went faithfully to the center every day. My children know how to play Rummikub because that's the big thing up at the Stovall Northern Center. We know how to play Rummikub. I know that this is just a formality to approve the loan, but considering that my property tax went up 71%, my value went up 71%, and I'm sure most of my neighbors who are senior citizens, theirs went up just as well with no growth in Stovall. We more than deserve it. So I encourage you to vote in approval of this.
All right. Anyone else? Yes, sir, Mr. Anderson.
May I share with this body, I live at 7020 Greenway Road, Kenton Fork, Granville County.
Thank you. We did not catch that on your introduction there, Mr. Anderson. Appreciate you. All right. Does the board have any questions?
I do.
Go ahead.
Commissioner Mann.
I appreciate the discussion, but we shouldn't divide our county. We have one county. The conversation I heard tonight was divided. We spent $340,000 for a space at the Southern Granville Senior Center. We have a significant population there that also would like to see more amenities. So when you divide, we're not winning. We're losing. So I appreciate everyone's enthusiasm. I have enthusiasm for projects such as these. But when I hear from the audience, and I appreciate the pride you have in your community, it's important. I have pride of being from Southern Granville. But I don't want it to be missed that we didn't get a brand new senior center in Southern Granville. We've got a $340,000 investment within Creedmoor's Community Center. We're renting that space, or we pay for that space, and we're in agreement with them to be in that space. So just want to make sure that everyone understands that. Doesn't mean that the Northern Granville folks aren't deserving of something, but pitting North against South or Central is not the way to go, not with me. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Hinman, I saw you next.
Yes, since I have a captive audience, you all know I'd put super glue on your seats to keep you there. But since I have a captive audience, I am short. And I had a young lady that was willing to go on my senior citizen board, but she has resigned. And now I don't have anybody to go on my senior citizen board. I need a body. So since you all are thinking about that, I need you to stop and let me know which body I can have to get on that board to make these decisions. Thank you very much.
All right, so I heard Commissioner Jay want to chime in.
Mr. Chairman, we'd just like to say to the northern end of the county, thanks for coming out. Thanks for letting us understand your concern. It has been a long time coming, and we haven't got there yet, but we're gonna get there. Because I never forget. It been something like 6 or 7 years ago. David Smith and Commissioner David Smith and I visited the senior center, and we couldn't hardly turn around because so many people was there. And we need the senior centers. And the last time I visited the senior center, and they were playing bingo, and Lord have mercy, I hadn't played bingo in so long. They tried to teach me how to play bingo, and you have to relay. Miss Phillips was calling the number on one side, and had to relay the message to the other side, so they could, to the people who were playing the game on there. So we're gonna make that better, Miss Phillips, so everybody can see you when you call.
At least you didn't have to share your hot dog. I thought somebody was going to eat my hot dog. There was somebody close to me.
All right, does the board need any further clarification? Okay.
Can I go ahead and make a motion to approve this?
Resolution.
Right, we've got to go through the.
Okay, never mind.
Somebody said something.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
My name is Patricia Boyd. I go to the senior center. I enjoy it. I love it. But you know, if this building had been built 7 or 8 years ago, when it was first talked about, the $340,000 might have come.
So, well,
Amen.
So
Not actually, it wouldn't have, but to get your point. But the reality is, it's not, I'm making a point that when all you speak of is one part of the county, we have a large county, 532 square miles. $340,000 would not have covered the cost back then, but $3 million will now, and it's reasonable. Thank you.
we've got a recommendation from our finance director and the county manager that the county adopt the resolution and tentatively accept the proposed 20-year financing from Capital One with the first principal payment to be made on 4/1/25, subject to the board's final approval of all financing terms at the subsequent meetings.
Well, we're accepting recommendation coming from our county manager, county attorney.
I'll second.
I'll third.
We've got a motion from Commissioner Jay, seconded by Commissioner Williford. Any discussion on the motion? Just want to say one thing. The commitment to this senior center, though the time frame does sometimes get a little stretched out, we've got a lot of irons in the fire, so to speak. But the commitment from this board has been unwavering on this project. We got a little scope creep, which means that we got a little big on the project and had to scale it back a little bit. But the size of this project, for the amount of folks that we've got in that area, I think is outstanding. I'm excited about it personally. I'm excited for the things that are going to come. And it's a pendulum, folks. Sometimes the left side gets something and the right side has to wait. Sometimes the top side gets something and the bottom side has to wait. That's just how it works. We can't serve both the top and the bottom and the left and the right with new projects all the time. You've had your tax rate stay consistent since 2018, 6 years. The pendulum's going to swing, folks. So, motion's been made, properly seconded. Any other comments? What's the pleasure of the board? All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Like sign? Motion carries. Mr. Jay, I cut you off. Did you have something?
Oh, no,
Okay.
we good.
Right. Did that. All right. I did close the public hearing, didn't we? Yes, I think I banged the hammer. Okay. Whoop, I have there we go. We'll start over with the actual mic on. Next item this evening is a project management award of the North Granville Senior Center construction project, and you'll find those documents for the board on 66. So as I am
Thank you, Chairman Karen,
yeah,
Granville
here we
County
go. We've got,
Commissioners.
our Environmental Services Director, Mr. Scott Phillips, here this evening, and he will give us an overview.
I'd first like to recognize Ann Collier, Principal with Oakley Collier Architects, and our project architect, Tim Williams, who've been working diligently on this project. This request is to consider a single prime fixed price construction service contract needed for the construction of the Northern Granville Senior Center. Over the past 5 years, Granville County's been actively planning the process to replace the existing North Granville Senior Center located at 318 US 15 South Stovall. The aging building of approximately 2,200 square feet, owned by the town of Stovall, does not accommodate its current use nor the projection of need for the coming years. In May of 2023, Granville County retained Oakley Collier Architects to begin the design phase of this project. Over the last 10 months, Oakley Collier has worked with the organization in designing a facility that meets our current needs as well as the needs of our aging population for years to come. What I've got here are some architectural illustrations of the interiors of the building, what it's proposed to look like. There's your cafeteria or dining room area, some of the arts and crafts space within the building. So they've done an excellent job at working through this process. The energy efficient design includes approximately 7,400 square feet of functional space, as well as a covered vehicle loading, unloading entrance area and rear outside deck area. The design accommodates administrative offices, dining room, fitness areas, a multi-purpose room, and a craft and arts room. This is basically a site plan. I know it's kind of hard to make out, but it kind of shows you the building situated on the property. It includes about 880 linear feet of walking trail in the back of the property. You can see the covered entrance, unloading, loading area. We have 56 parking spaces and a paved parking area right off of Oxford Street. This is basically a floor plan of the overall facility. Up in the upper top part, it includes a dining and fitness area that accommodates about 50 patrons, divided between the kitchen area in there. In the lower half of the building, we have the multi-purpose room, a craft and arts room, as well as administrative offices and the restroom core of the building.
Excuse me, did I hear restrooms, appropriate restrooms?
Yes, two.
Thank you.
With extra wide stalls for people with mobility issues. On March 19th, sealed bids were received by Granville County for the single prime fixed price construction services of the facility. 11 proposals were received, ranging from $3,060,000 to $3,841,000. The certified bid tabulation is attached for your review. In addition to the base bid price that I just discussed, we requested a series of 4 alternates that could be chosen at your discretion. The first alternate, G1, provides a canopy roof partially covering the rear deck for weather protection and sun protection. It's $38,500 for this G1 alternate. Alternate G2 for $7,600 substitutes vinyl floor tile with ceramic quarry tile within the kitchen area, providing a more durable finish with ease of cleaning and maintenance. Yes. G3 is out of sequence. Alternate G3 for $152,000 provides for 150 kW generator and automatic transfer switch for emergency standby power. Now to note, the building was designed with a manual transfer switch, which allows the building to be generized with a manual pull-behind generator. We don't have a 150 kW generator in inventory, but we're still able to generate, energize the building if G3 alternate was not selected. And the G4 alternate for $23,200 substitutes treated wood decking with composite floor decking on the outside deck, allowing for years of use with minimal maintenance. So,
Mr. Phillips, could you
Yes.
repeat number 3? I was...
Sorry.
No, I was talking to Commissioner.
The alternate G3 for $152,000 provides for 152 kW standby generator and automatic transfer switch. Now, the base bid of the project includes a manual transfer switch, which enables us to energize the building with a pull-behind generator.
And the number 4, is that going to be Trex? Is that the same as Trex?
It's just a composite, yeah, same similar product as Trex, a composite floor decking.
Okay.
If I may, Mr. Phillips, you said that you would have to, without the addition of number 3, you could pull a portable generator up there in an emergency situation and manually switch over and put power to the building.
I think with the size generator that we have capacity of handling, it would energize a portion of the building.
Portion of it, but not all.
But not all of it. The 150 kW will energize the entire building and all the services.
And it would be on site and automatic switch over.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's a stationary standby generator.
Would that be something that, just conversation, that we could get ready for, pad ready? And that would have to be propane, or do they have natural gas there?
It could be diesel or propane. Yeah.
And would that be something that could be gotten ready for and then put it in at a later date?
I think, we could look at accommodating that. If at any time we wanted to add that later, certainly we could do that.
Just a thought.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
it's okay to ask a question.
We've been doing that.
Hey, Scott. I figured somewhere around $220,000 for all these additionals. Is that close?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What is your recommendation on those, and why, if we were to accept all those add-ons or not, what would you recommend based on this point of construction, a brand new building, making it what you want it to be, versus having to come back and modify? I know the deck, treated deck, that's to me a no-brainer. But what's your thoughts?
I think each alternate stands on its own merits, obviously. I think that the deck outside, the rear deck, would be used quite a bit. I would personally see the need for some kind of sun protection, more so than weather protection for the elderly that may be using it. Excuse me, for our seniors. I'm sorry, for our seniors. Obviously the vinyl flooring and replacement of the ceramic tiles got a more wearability issue and maintenance of cleaning and longevity of the material lasting. Of course, the composite floor decking in lieu of the treated wood decking. If we've all had decks, we know how that kind of works out over time. So that's kind of a no-brainer in my opinion. The main question would be G3, the generator. I think that, in conversations that we've had, would or could the facility be used for Red Cross stationing, kind of in the event of a large power outage? I don't believe there's another area up in the northern part of the county that could be utilized as a shelter. That's something always to consider. And that 150 kW generator would certainly enable that to happen and use the building in its entirety, rather than just one room or, the main load on generators is the heating and cooling capacities of the building. So, yeah, but I mean, if it would be my recommendation to award all 4 alternates along with the base bid.
Thank you, and generators will not get cheaper.
No, they won't, no. Not to mean that we looked at the possibility that it could be added, in time if needed. That's why it was designed with the manual transfer switch.
And I agree about the generator. And you said something about, because we don't have a place in the northern end of the county really for emergency for Red Cross. So that would come in handy if we could do that.
comments you'd like to make?
We've got a recommendation from our County Development Services Director in conjunction with Oakley Collier Architects recommends awarding the single prime fixed price construction service contract to Rankinelli Construction South. Is that incorporated, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
For the base bid amount of $3,060,000 and authorize the county attorney to finalize the contract and the county manager to execute the contract document. In addition to the base bid, the amount of the Granville County Board of Commissioners may approve the following ad alternatives, and we've heard through those 1 through 4. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion that we accept the recommendation of the bid with the add-ons 1 through 4.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion by Commissioner Wilford, seconded by Commissioner Jay, to accept the recommendation as well as the bid alternates 1 through 4. Any discussion from the board? Seeing none. All those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Great, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And again, I'd like to acknowledge our senior services staff and Oakley Collier Architects as part of the team to kind of work through this. It's been a long 10 months, and we look forward to getting this project started.
Outstanding. Thank you. Thank you. All right, the next item that we've got this evening is to consider additional security at the Gap Athletic Park. The purpose to consider installation of security camera systems at the Gap Athletic Park. And then I see you, Deputy County Manager Weichel already at the podium. We'll give everybody a second to clear out. Showed up quick. It's good. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. Alrighty, Ms. Weichel, I think we're ready to ride. Okay.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners. As you're all aware, the Granville Athletic Park supports a substantial number of users daily. In fact, our new traffic counter actually logged over 10,000 vehicles in October of 2023 alone. Several of these frequent park users have reached out to park staff to request installation of security cameras. Aside from a few trail cameras that capture movement and monitor equipment areas, the park doesn't currently have an integrated security camera system. The addition of these cameras in the park will not only serve to deter crime, but also provide park visitors with a greater sense of security, leading to an even greater utilization of park amenities. If approved, 9 cameras will be installed at strategic locations within the park to monitor entrances, parking lots, and other high-traffic areas, as shown in the map diagram that was included in your board packet. In accordance with the county's procurement policies, park staff contacted several vendors and consulted with the IT director on options to address this need. We did receive 3 proposals from vendors Newcomb Tech, MetroView, and Securitas Technology. Those are shown on your screen and in your board packet. The variables really associated with these are whether or not the county maintains control and archiving of the video footage and or if there is an annual recurring cost. Upon review of these proposals, we are recommending the proposal submitted by Newcomb Tech for the following reasons. The proposal provides a cost-effective solution with a one-time charge that covers the equipment installation and gives the county ownership rights to the surveillance video that can be viewed in real time. The proposal also retains county ownership rights to the footage and offers the capability to retrieve at any point that would be necessary. The proposal also includes electrical installation for those locations you noted on the map where the electricity is available nearby, but there were also several locations that will be utilizing solar cameras. And that would be as opposed to incurring significant additional expense to run electric to those spaces. Before I read off the recommendation, Commissioner Wilford also has some additional information on a sponsor for this project.
Mr. Chairman, board members, several months ago, I received a phone call from citizen Randy Bailey of Bailey's Farm that was interested in making a contribution to this project. If we would make sure that it went to this project. And through he and his wife, Debbie, their gracious contribution, they have offered $15,000 to go from Bailey Farms and them personally to this project. So I'm happy to share that with the board and the public.
Thank you.
I would like to thank Randy and Debbie and Bailey Farms for this.
We will be recognizing them on the sponsor wall as well.
Absolutely.
Yes. So the recommendation before you this evening is to approve Newcomb Tech's proposal for installation of security camera system at the Granville Athletic Park in an amount not to exceed $30,000, which will allow for incidentals, and to authorize the county manager and county attorney to finalize and then execute a contract. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
I have one. We did have a user that we lost out there in the facilities. Would this have helped people realize his car was still sitting there, and that maybe somebody would have realized he was out walking the trail or not walking the trail?
I actually
and maybe
think
been able to help him?
I actually think he was, he had collapsed and was found quite quickly. I don't think there was any time lapse in between when he collapsed and when he was found.
I just wanted to see if that was a possibility.
Yeah, we aren't going to put in cameras at this point anyways out through the trail system. We can add on later in future if we determine that there is additional need. This proposal will give us 9 cameras at least to start, and we can reassess in the future.
But that would cover the cars at least.
Correct.
So if somebody noticed there was a car there for an overly due time period and they hadn't seen people walking around, that maybe they go look.
That's right. It'll cover the parking lots and the entrance areas and the high traffic areas.
Okay.
Will there be any live monitoring, or would this just be captured video and then we go back and review?
Yeah, primarily it will be captured video. I mean, there may be some live, but we really don't have a body that will be able to sit and just watch the monitors. They certainly has that capability, but for the most part, it will be just.
And is it designed to pick up a license plate in and out from both directions?
From both directions. So
Will the cameras capture a license plate regardless of which entrance they come in and leave? The way the camera's designed.
Likely, yes. The cameras that we've picked have really good high resolution.
I'm just hoping you work with the vendor, and I'm good. I think it's great what you're doing. Just work with the vendor to make sure that we can actually capture the license plate on any vehicle coming in or out, regardless of what.
There's a camera at each location. Those will be solar cameras. So, but yes, I had not talked to him myself, but I would imagine that the detail would be available for us with the resolution that we've selected.
Okay. Board, you've heard the recommendation. If there's no further questions, what's the pleasure of the board?
I make a motion we approve as recommended.
Second motion, Mr. Chairman.
We've got a motion by Commissioner May, seconded by Commissioner Cozart to accept the recommendation as presented. Any further questions on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I'd like to thank Bailey Farms for the $15,000 contribution. They're basically paying for half of this project, and we greatly appreciate their contribution. Thank you.
Very much so. Thank you. Yes. All right, next we've got our county manager with an item for the lease of 204 Williamsboro Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is just a brief item to approve this proposed lease. When I came on board at the county in October of 2022, 104 Bell Street was already relatively full, and since then, we've had the good fortune to add 4 great new positions to our admin staff. We've added a wonderful new deputy clerk. We have added a recruitment specialist, which brings our HR department to a whopping total of 3. We have added a management analyst who, as you saw at our retreat, is already adding great functionality to our office. And also, just today, had our new grant writer was in the office for the first day. He started today. That's a shared position with the town of Creedmoor. But with those 4 new positions, we've been bursting at the seams for a while. 204 Williamsboro Street is the former law offices of Mr. John Watson. It is right catty corner to the back door of 104 Bell Street, really ideally located for some additional county office space. So this is a reasonable cost lease for the second floor of that building, which we hope will be followed by a longer-term lease for the entire building, hopefully prior to July 1st. So with your blessing, we would move forward with this short-term lease for the second floor of 204 Bell Street. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
I do have one quick question, and I did try to read through that. Does the lot next to that is owned by the city? Is that correct?
The parking lot?
Yes.
Correct.
Do we have any right to use that?
So Mr. Watson's building comes with the lot that is right behind our lot. And so we would have exclusive right to that when we were renting the entire building. He already gives us access to that lot pretty much every day. The city lot is first come, first served, but is generally lightly used and could serve as overflow parking.
So we could use it if we needed it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So all his parking was in behind building, not on the side of it?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Board members, you have the recommendation before you. What's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make the motion that we give the county manager permission to move forward with the lease agreement and have the city attorney make sure that all the legal I's are dotted and T's are crossed.
And it may be that we have some non-substantive adjustments to make to it.
Okay.
Did you mean, I'm assuming you meant county attorney?
I'm sorry. Yes. Sorry.
We got the right attorney.
Yes.
All right. Got a motion by Commissioner Williford and seconded by?
We hadn't had a second yet.
I'll second. Seconded by Mr. Gooch. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Motion carries. Next, we've got our county attorney report.
I don't have anything this evening, thank you.
All right, that was quick. That'll bring us to presentation by board members. And Commissioner Jay, you're leading us off this evening.
Just like to say to Tony and Sue, we met, COTS and DSS met this morning. Just straighten out our everything was got everything straightened out. Also did since our last meeting, I met with we had a ribbon cutting, and I think the same gentleman is going to be doing some work at the at the park. I help him with at the park, and I think he said he was doing some work out there at the Gap. Yeah, and I met him. Nice gentleman. I hope everybody had a happy Easter. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, next we have Commissioner Rob Williford.
Mr. Chairman, just like to thank everyone for coming out. It was good to see a good turnout tonight. I'm glad to see interest in Granville County. I'd like to thank the Baileys for their contribution to the cameras at the Gap, and that's all I have tonight.
Commissioner Henman?
Thank you very much. I just wanted, first of all, to let everybody know that the library board meeting, out of necessity, is needed to be moved this month to April 12th at 4:30. That's an open meeting. Also, tomorrow morning is the community listening session for communities in the schools here tomorrow at 10 o'clock. So love to see you all back again. And that's all I have, sir.
Okay. Commissioner Kozar?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have a report tonight. Thank you, sir.
Awesome. All right, Commissioner May?
Yes, I'd like to welcome our new Economic Development Director, and welcome on board. We look forward to many good things that you will bring to our county. Appreciate you having you. Know that you are someone that we look for a long time. So thank you, County Manager, for that selection and your team. Still looking for an update on CARTS. County Manager, still want to see the development of a more robust service throughout the county. And that's all I have.
Okay. Mr. Gooch?
Yes, again, welcome to our new Economic Development Director. And I'd like to thank everyone who came out tonight, especially those of you who took time to speak on the tax matters, as well as public comments, and all of the people who showed up from Stovall. Thank you so much for making the trip down here tonight. We greatly appreciate you being here. This project was started in 2017. Is when it was first put on the radar, so to speak. And finally tonight, we got to finish things off by approving the financing and then approving the contract. And I want to thank everyone on the board for supporting all four options. I think it's greatly needed to have that generator there. That makes you a true center for, in case of emergency shelter. And hope everyone had a good Easter, and that's all for me. Thanks.
I think, tonight's crowd was a testament to the quality of services that we offer through our senior services. The folks that came out tonight wouldn't have been here tonight if we didn't offer what we offer. And I know that it comes down to the people that we have. Physical location is less than desirable. We've all been in that building. But one of the best donuts I've ever had in my life, in my mouth, in that building, not too long ago. Anyways, I digress. The space has come to its useful purpose, and I think we've all seen that. I know that there wasn't a doubt in my mind that this board was 100% fully supportive, and we have been the entire time. How fires get started in a community, one will never know. Just want to talk about another testament to our outstanding staff here, Miss Angela Allen, our tourism director. Facebook is a fun thing. In the memories section, 3 years ago last weekend, one of my neighbors was having a get-together with some folks with some cloth tents in the yard. I think they had about 60 people. They had a memorial service for a fallen family member. It was called the Viking Experience. Last Saturday, not the Saturday before Easter, but the Saturday before that, so 9 days ago, they had their second Viking Experience at Vino Oasi, or the Barn at Vino, I think it's called now. Second year there. This is 3 years later, from a 3-acre lot with 60 people to over 6,000 people attended the Viking Experience. Just an amazing event. The food trucks and the vendors that were there and the experience that was held by our community, a 2-day event. I would dare say that they've outgrown the space. Now, this is a worldwide event. You chuckle, but this is the North Carolina Viking Experience, registered trademark and all, right here in Little Old Granville County. And our tourism development director, Miss Allen, has done a fantastic job availing herself to those folks. So I look forward to them continuing their success. I hope that they can go from the 60 to the 6,000 in a 3-year period, and maybe get into add a zero to it in 3 or 4 more years. So the next item that I've got, we heard at the top of this meeting that at our next meeting on the 15th, tax day, here in our nation, a 2024 tax revaluation information session will be held at 5:30 here in the Expo Center. After the presentation, tax staff, and representatives from Pearson Appraisal Services Incorporated will be available to answer any questions. And as always, if anyone should have any questions, they can email our tax director, Jenny Short, our tax administrator, or phone her at 919-603-1317, or email any questions to revail.2024@granvillecounty.org. And again, those one-on-one appointments are available Monday through Friday. Schedule one. We do take drop-ins as well. But if you have any questions, please feel free to come and meet with our tax staff. I'm sure that they will guide you through the process. So with that being said, we have any other further matters to come before this board this evening?
I don't see anybody rushing to be my senior citizen.
Right. Get them next time. So seeing no other matters to come before this board, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
We got a motion by Commissioner Williford, seconded by Commissioner May to adjourn this meeting. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Motion carries. We're adjourned.